Well, here we are, June 1st. It is the official start of hurricane season. We have joining us Dr. Michael Brennan. He is the director of the National Hurricane Center. Good afternoon, Mike. I know you guys are super busy today. Thank you for taking the time to join us, and I'll get right to it. We're forecasting what may be a slightly below normal storm season. Talk about that, how El Nino plays into it, and why we have to take it just as seriously as an above normal forecast.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be with you. If you look at the forecast for this season, the range of storms is that, from a little below normal to near the normal range, 8 to 14 tropical storms, 3 to 6 hurricanes, 1 to 3 major hurricanes. So the point I'm making to everybody is there are going to be storms and we have to get ready. But if you look at sort of what El Nino tends to do to the Atlantic basin, we tend to sort of make conditions a lot less favorable for storms to form here in the deep tropics, the Caribbean, the tropical Atlantic, and that can cut down on some of those longer track major hurricanes we might get at the peak of a typical season, really that August, September, October timeframe. But the flip side of that is it can leave more favorable conditions a little closer to home, up in the Gulf, off the southeast coast of the United States. So we can still have pockets of favorable conditions, both in the ocean and atmosphere, that can result in some of those homegrown systems that don't leave us a lot of lead time to get ready. And that's always a particular concern along the Gulf Coast, and the southeast Texas coast is no exception to that.
Yeah, Mike, it's those homegrown Gulf grown storms that really concern me. We're super vulnerable here. We're right on the coast. We're third largest port in the country, I believe. We're the energy capital of the world, one of the medical capital of the world. We're flat as a pancake. We're incredibly vulnerable to storm surge. And just real quickly, the homegrown. So 2 storms come to mind. Audrey in 1957. That was a June major hurricane, so they can happen early. Yeah. Or Alicia in 83 hit us directly as a Cat 3, and that was the slowest season on record.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a season in 1983, only 4 named storms, but you get a major hurricane landfall on the Texas coast. So it just reinforces that message that overall slow seasons on the whole don't mean that you can't have major hurricane impacts along the Gulf Coast or elsewhere in the United States. It's so imperative for people to prepare, especially in coastal, southeast Texas, where you do have that vulnerability to storm surge, rainfall, flooding, wind, surf and rip currents, tornadoes. All the hazards are in play there. And it's so important to remember the strongest hurricanes that have ever hit the United States, the high-end Cat 4s and Cat 5s, were all tropical storms 3 days before landfall. So those are short fuse, rapidly intensifying storms that end up being some of the most powerful systems we have to face.
Let's talk about the graphic you've got up right next to you. Know your risk. How important is that?
Well, that's the key. That's the key to preparedness, is understanding what the risk is for you and your family and your community. Are you in a storm surge evacuation zone? Are you in a flood prone area? Could you be asked to leave by your local officials? If that's the case, have that evacuation plan now. Remember, you don't have to drive hundreds of miles to go 2 states away to get to a safe place. You just have to drive out of that storm surge evacuation zone to get to the home of a friend or loved one, a shelter, a hotel, a safe place where you can ride out the storm. So make evacuation achievable for you and your family as you approach this hurricane season. But know what your risk is to those other hazards as well. Do you live in a mobile home, for example? You may be asked to leave even for a tropical storm, and then make sure that you have an insurance checkup for your home, have flood insurance, know what know what your possessions, catalog all that as you head into the season, and have that disaster supply kit, a week's worth of non-perishable food, water, medicine, batteries, medical equipment, medical devices, anything you're going to need to survive potentially several days in your home and in your community after a big event.
And Mike, anybody who has been through an evacuation will tell you that how much they wish they had been prepared long before any storm ever even showed up out there in the Atlantic.
Absolutely, yeah. You sort of the worst case scenario is you hear that there's an evacuation order for your community, but you don't even know if you live in an evacuation zone. So you have to spend time figuring that out. Then you have to figure out, well, how am I going to evacuate? Is my car tank full of gas? Do I have the supplies I need to go live somewhere else for potentially several days or a week after the storm? And then where am I going to go? You may not even, if you don't know where the shelters are in your community, where you can get safely to a place outside that evacuation zone, it's going to make it a much harder evacuation plan for you to execute for you and your family. So if you figure that all out now, then when you see a storm threatening, you can start to get ready to put that plan into place and then go when the orders are given.
Mike, we've got millions of people here in the Houston and greater Houston area, and so many of them are new. They've never been through a hurricane. Just what is your message to everybody here, Houston, Galveston, as we head into yet another hurricane season?
It doesn't take a major hurricane making landfall directly in your community for there to be significant impacts from the hurricane hazard. Storm surge along the Gulf Coast can occur hundreds of miles away from where the storm's making landfall. As you know, in the greater Houston area, go back to Harvey, flooding from heavy rainfall can come from a system regardless of what its strength is from a wind perspective, the remnants of a system. And that heavy rainfall flooding has been responsible for more than half of the fatalities from tropical storms and hurricanes in the United States over the last 10 years. So don't underestimate the power of those water hazards. And again, you know your vulnerability, know your risk. If you have a new neighbor, somebody that's moved into your community since last hurricane season, help them out, help them understand what the risk is where you all live.
Right on, Mike. It is so nice to see you today on this quiet first day of hurricane season. Let's hope it stays that way, and I look forward to staying real close and working with you guys as we go into the 2026 season. Thanks for making time for us.
Yep, thanks. We'll be here.